And we are live. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Stokastic Fantasy Football Channel. My name is Matt Savoca, and I am here with the incomparable, the one and only Nicky Locks. You know he's excited today because it's Thursday Night Football, the start of Week 4, and Nick, at Notorious Fantasy, by the way, your Dolphins are playing. How are you? How excited are you on a scale to a 1 to the Richter scale needs to be used?
Yeah, we're at about a zillion right now. Everyone is picking the Bengals to win. It's hilarious. On TV today on ESPN, everyone picked the Bengals. Guess what's going to happen? The Dolphins are going to win by roughly 24. It's going to be hilarious. Everyone keeps counting us out. Go Dolphins, baby.
I mean, they beat the Bills last week. It kind of means you can't rule them out of any game right now, period. So
No.
let's enjoy the ride. Bengals are 3.5-point favorites. 47.5-point total is actually the fourth highest total among all games on this Week 4 slate. So some offense is expected in Cincinnati today. Give us a little preview. I mean, we got to get into wide receivers. I know people got start-sit decisions. We got people hanging out here 15 minutes before the stream starts. We love you all. We appreciate you very, very much. But let's talk this game just a little bit. It's your Dolphins. You got a little dog in the fight. What do you see as the most likely game flow for these teams? How they try to win?
To be honest with you, I think this game, everyone projects to be very high scoring. I honestly think this is going to be a lower scoring game. I think that the Dolphins defense is going to continue to just try to stop Joe Burrow by just blitzing him all the time. The offensive line in Cincinnati is not very good at all. It parts like how Moses parted the Red Sea, and I really don't think that there's much work that's going to happen there. I really think that the offensive line is going to get plowed through, and I think the Dolphins are going to win that way. But I think if the Cincinnati Bengals are to win, I think it's because the offensive line started gelling better, and I think it is because the defense is a little bit underrated because I do think the Cincinnati Bengals defense is quite good. So while I want this to be a high-scoring game, I think this game is going to go under. It's going to be a lower-scoring affair, and I just hope the Dolphins win. I know Tyreek Hill already called out Eli Apple, so I'm hoping Tyreek Hill scores like 50 fantasy points on him.
So to your exact point, this is what PFF grades are actually pointing us to. We know the Miami Dolphins as an offense as a whole have been way above expectation. They actually have the sixth highest PFF offensive grade, but their pass blocking grade is the sixth worst in the NFL. The Cincinnati Bengals are right there at eighth worst in the NFL in pass blocking grade as well. On the defensive side, you said it. The Cincinnati Bengals have well overperformed their expectations. They have the third best overall defensive grade in PFF ratings, and the Dolphins are at 20. So you're hoping the Dolphins can match the Bengals, the Bengals overperformance defensively, because both offensive lines are the things that could lose or win them the game if they perform well. I really like that take going the under, I think, if we're betting. And check us out over at the Odd Shopper channel. I just saw that Laffy dropped his every game bets video. You have to check that out. Really good stuff over at our brother channel, the Odd Shopper channel as well. Good morning, guys. Got about a couple dozen people hanging out this morning as we trickle in on this fine Thursday, the beginning of Week 4, as I mentioned. And let's get to the beginning of the wide receiver position. Tier 1, let's throw it on the screen. Yeah, let's do it.
Bang.
Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, Debo Samuel, and of course, Jamar Chase tonight. Anybody stick out?
I think Stephon Diggs is going to be the number one receiver this week. That is, to me, the highest scoring game. Bills, Ravens. What do you think about that?
Totally. I mean, highest total game on the slate. So we're not rocket scientists here, not reinventing the wheel. But I do think that the way that Buffalo's offense kind of sputtered last week, I think they come out real strong against a Baltimore defense that has been hit or miss, little boom or bust. Right now, defensively, still the 10th best overall defensive grade. Again, we're using PFF defensive grades because it's one of the most predictable things at this point in the season to predict how defenses will perform rest of season. But man, yeah. Other than Kupp, who's just like on another planet,
Yeah.
Diggs is probably my guess. I mean, If Cup goes for 10 for 220 every week, you're not even surprised at this point.
Yeah. The only guy that I kind of question his ranking right now is Debo Samuel going up against Jalen Ramsey.
Mm-hmm.
Debo Samuel, I tweeted this yesterday. He has went very under the radar and how bad he's been. Right. I just assume every week because I don't have Debo on any of my teams. I watch the game, I'm like, oh, Debo's looking good. And then you go and check the stat sheet. The guy's scoring like 14 points a game in half PPR, 12 points a game. Like, what the hell is happening? Like, I understand Jimmy G is back, and that is definitely better for Debo Samuel. But in a matchup up against the Rams, can you really trust a guy who hasn't even been consistent yet this season? Obviously, you're going to play him, but I just wouldn't expect him to be a top 5, even a top 10 finisher at wide receiver.
Well, this is what happens when you're a wide receiver and you're being used as, for lack of a better phrase, an RB2.
Yeah.
Right? He's getting decent amount of targets, 8, 6, 8, but you know that his average target distance is ridiculously low. It's outside the top 90 receivers if you're just ranking the average depth of target. So those short area targets in a full PPR league, that's fine, but he's getting lots of rush attempts. His bread and butter last year was rushing touchdowns. We can't bet on that every year for a freaking wide receiver. At the same time, I do think they find a way to continually get him his touches. Here's what's really interesting. San Francisco is still favored in that game. They started favored by 2.5. It's down to basically a pick 'em. It's -1 right now. San Francisco at home, the favorite. I guess you play running backs at home when they're a favorite, right? I'm joshing you a little bit, but I think Debo Samuel has a guaranteed volume that most wide receivers would absolutely love. It just happens to be unique.
Yeah, I'm not even sure how they're favored, but that also feels like a mental trap where it's like, oh, the 49ers should not be favored. Bet the Rams, then the 49ers kick the shit out of the Rams. So I will not be betting that. That's kind of like last week. I said the Colts or the Kansas City Chiefs were in a trap spot, and that's what happened. So yeah, this tier is pretty safe outside of Debo.
You nailed that absolutely last week. And the Colts, they didn't even look that good. It's just that the Chiefs looked worse. Okay, we'll get into tier 2. Obviously, you're starting all of these players if you got them, and we'll get to your questions. Again, thanks for hanging out, hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe. Miso says, shout out to you, Miso. What's up, man? Welcome back. This channel basically runs my fantasy team at this point, and we're happy to do so. We're happy to help you out. We're happy to do what we do. Okay. Yes, I would agree. This is a giant question mark. How CMC is doing. And then Jonathan Taylor also missed practice as well.
First time ever.
This isn't super fun. The thigh injury is new, right? It's just like soreness from the game last week.
Yeah, so normally on Wednesday, he doesn't practice. That's like the veteran do not practice day. And Christian McCaffrey himself said that if he goes and like takes a piss during practice, they'll put that on the injury report. So look, I'm not overwhelmingly panicking, but I did pick up Donta Foreman in a league just so that I could have him, and the Christian McCaffrey person doesn't have him. I think that Christian McCaffrey will play, but obviously when there's a guy that people dub as injury prone, I don't think he's injury prone, but he's hurt. It's quite concerning. I mean, it is only Thursday. There's still a couple days left, but by radar, it's not red flag yet. It's more of like a yellow flag. Like I'm starting to panic. And if he doesn't play, though, I'm off of DJ Moore this week. I don't know where he is in these rankings. I have him ranked as a do not start player, so he's not even inside the top 32 for me. I think DJ Moore would eat absolutely if Christian McCaffrey doesn't play.
They got to get the ball to somebody. Yeah. I doubt it's Shi Smith every play.
Laviska.
Ultimately, I think that the other problem here is that if you take Christian McCaffrey out of this rushing attack, it's not like whoever you insert in is expected to be efficient or voluminous. And maybe they're an RB2 starter. And so I see what you're doing there, trying to kind of get ahead of the curve. That's how you play fantasy football. But I don't know if we're expecting fantastic production. So it goes right into our tier 2. And our next question from Jeffrey: start Tyler Boyd over Jalen Waddle. We have Waddle and Hill, both Miami receivers, playing fantastic football inside our top 15.
Yeah, I'm playing Waddle. Waddle is banged up with that groin injury. It says he's expected to play. I wouldn't worry too much at all. I genuinely think that Jalen Waddle is going to be perfectly fine. And like, I don't think that Boyd becomes like a must start unless Chase or Higgins are hurt. The Dolphins defense isn't like outside of Xavier Howard, right? The cornerbacks, we have Cater Koo, or however you pronounce his name, Nick Needham, these other guys, they're not the best until Byron Jones comes back. So I think Boyd could have a good game, but I would assume Waddle has the better game. And also, I don't know if you saw this on Twitter, but Barstool Cincinnati tweeted out all of the plays from our walkthrough yesterday. They recorded it in the Cincinnati Bearcats Stadium. So that's a built-in excuse if we lose.
Wait. So they basically did the Belichick? They did the Bill Belichick?
Yes, they recorded the whole entire practice and put it on Twitter.
But they're allowed because they're just a media company and they just went.
No, you're not allowed to do that. It's because the Bearcats didn't close the stadium. So the Dolphins are practicing. And like, if you're a student, you could just go walk towards the stadium and just put your fucking camera over the thing. Because when you walk in the stadium, like you can see into the stadium. So they didn't block anything off, which they're supposed to. And you just see like 50 kids with their phones pointed over the thing recording because they're all Bengals fans, obviously. It's bullshit.
That
and then
is an absolute mess.
Disaster.
Watch them lose. Now I kind of want chaos. I root for chaos now. And also the Dolphins are like a great story right now. Has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with you liking them. Okay, guys. Let's see. Roderick asks, start to flex Penny, Dotson, McKissick, Rondale, Burks, and Joku. We'll assume half PPR.
I'm going with Dotson. Is Rondale going to play? Seems like he might.
I think he's going to play, but really a full snap share is probably out of the question.
Okay, I'm going Dotson and Burks. I want to go Penny. I love the matchup for Penny, but man, oh man, has he not looked the best. I'll admit when I'm wrong on a player. It seems like I was wrong on Penny. Again, it's only week 4, so maybe don't panic yet, but it's full PPR. I'm going Dotson and Burks. Dotson underperformed, but I talked about this last week. The reason why he's been so good is because of touchdowns. They didn't score any touchdowns last week except for that one run. So Dotson and Burks for me. There's a lot of positivity out of the offensive coordinator, I believe, of the Titans talking up Burks. So Burks and Dotson.
And you've got some injuries piling up in the wide receiver core outside of Treylon Burks. They need to get him going. The Indianapolis defense is okay, not fantastic. They're actually literally right at the league average in PFF's defensive grades. So if there was ever a defense that quote unquote did not matter at this moment, obviously they've got some Pro Bowlers yet to play this season. I would say it's the Colts. Hopefully that Tennessee offense turns things around like they were showing flashes of in week 3. Before we get to any other questions here, this is a pretty big tier. I think most people at this point are starting all of these players. You probably just don't have people better at this point. But what do you think about Amon-Ra St. Brown? What do you think his chances of playing are? And I'm actually surprised T. Higgins is expected to be good to go here tonight. Is there any chance he doesn't play? Is he still in the concussion protocol, or is he good to go?
I thought he was good to go.
Okay.
When I'm looking right now, I don't see anything like on I always pull up like where my rankings are done is on Fantasy Pros, and normally there's like an alert next to a player's name. If there's any injury for Jalen Waddle, there's an alert
too.
Yeah, there's no alert on T. Higgins. All it says is that he caught 5 balls last week, and that's it. That's all the news they've got on him.
Good to go. Good to go for T. Higgins. Good to go for that full offense.
Yeah, so for Amon-Ra St. Brown, he has a minor ankle injury. Doesn't sound the best, but I mean, he's going up against Seattle, so maybe even if he had a fucking peg leg, he could do good. The Seattle Seahawks defense isn't the best. I'm expecting Amon-Ra St. Brown to play. I'm expecting myself to play him, but you also should not be expecting a top 5 performance if the injury is a little bit more serious. So I would have him ranked lower. The only player in this tier that I don't like at all is Tyler Lockett. He's actually been pretty good. I just don't trust him.
That's fair to say. Geno Smith threw for 300 yards for the first time as a Seattle Seahawk. That's important because we didn't have Russell Wilson throwing for 300 yards very many times at the second half of 2021. So I actually think there's a little bit more upside. I talked about it in the video, the Stokastic start-sit video, the VOD that we have every single week. I believe it's released now. It might be released later today. But talking about a little bit more upside for Geno Smith's receivers I don't know. It's a bold take to have us here,
Oh.
and I like that we have them. We take stands at the Stokastic DFS projections, and that trickles down to our rankings. But one thing I do want to say about Amon-Ra is that they have a bye 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to force anything with Amon-Ra St. Brown, meaning they might limit his snap share to try to ease him into the bye week and get him the rest he needs.
Maybe. Then that means that it's a big DJ Chark game.
Or Hawkinson, he gets 7 targets in the first 2 games, but then ironically had his best fantasy game in week 3. Alex White, dude, thank you so much for the super chat. It really means a lot. We're gonna throw it up on the screen. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for entrusting us with these decisions and for the little bit of love. $5, whatever anyone can give, it really means a whole lot. Thank you, Alex. All right, we got a big one. Bateman, Devonte Adams, Hollywood. You're in pretty good shape already. Curtis Samuel, Drake London, Mike Evans. What are your thoughts? Love the content. Thanks for everything. And thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
I mean, you have a great wide receiver core. Let's just based on the number here, I'd say you're probably starting 4. Let's just rank them maybe 1 through 4, and then who you'd probably leave on the bench. Adams and Evans are every week starters when you play them. When they're available. What else beyond that?
Yeah, so Adams, Evans, Hollywood. It's honestly crazy. They bring in Hollywood to be this big burner, and then last week they're playing fucking Michael Thomas football, where they're just throwing him the ball 5 feet away. It's really weird, but it is what it is. So Devonte Adams, Mike Evans, Hollywood Brown, and then between London, Bateman, and Samuel, it really is a coin flip. I think I would lean with. I'm more of an upside player, so I would be hunting for Bateman, but I think the safer play with similar upside is London. So I'm going to go Mike Evans, Adams, Hollywood, Bateman, because, again, I think that's going to be a high-scoring game with the Ravens.
Man, Drake London looks
great.
So damn good. I mean, just when a rookie is performing this well this early, also one who is barely over the age of 21, I think this is a situation, Alex, where if you are not as stacked at the running back position, see if you can utilize this depth to try to get you a surefire number 1 running back out of your RB2. So you package your running back 2, one of these players, move on up to a top 12 running back. I think you could do it, especially with the way that a lot of these running backs in the Kamara, McCaffrey range have kind of been underperforming. One of them is going to explode and have a near RB1 overall second half of the year. All right. Michael Pittman also in a good spot against a Tennessee defense that has not been special at all. And Deontay Johnson, who just keeps catching passes over and over again, is playing the Jets. Probably a good situation. You ready to move on?
Yeah.
Oh, A.J. Brown's pretty good. We have him at number 5, and he just sits there at the very top, and we're like, yeah, we don't care about him. No, he playing the Jags. All systems go. Here's where things get interesting. Cortland Sutton, I love Cortland Sutton against a Vegas Raiders defense that is not good. And then, you know, all the way down here, Curtis Samuel has been well overperforming expectations, and Russell Gage caught a career-high 12 passes last week. Had a Julian Edelman-esque 12 catches on 13 targets for 87 yards and a score. What do you think of this tier? I mean, there's a lot of ceiling here, and then there's Romeo Dobbs at wide receiver 24, a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, I said it before. I'm done with DJ Moore. Sorry, pal. I talked you up in the offseason. I thought Baker was the savior. You played better with Brandon Allen or Kyle Allen as your quarterback, whichever the Allens was your quarterback. It's embarrassing. Matt Rule needs to be fired. Needs to be drawn in quarter. He should be executed in front of the stadium for what he has done to this team. It is embarrassing. DJ Moore stinks, and it's not his fault. He's getting all the targets. He has such high target share. But fantasy football, you don't win by getting a high target share. You win by actually catching the ball, and Baker just does not know how to throw the football. This is embarrassing. I have him ranked outside the top 32. I understand if you want to play him, right? You could talk yourself into it, right? He's a great player. He's this, he's that. But the numbers just aren't good. So I'm kind of just out on DJ Moore. Player I really like in this range is Mike Williams. Even if Keenan Allen plays, I still think Mike Williams always has the upside, even with Herbert having the fucked up ribs. I still think Mike Williams could have an excellent game.
And he's still one of those players who I feel like the hype outpaces his expected projection. Is that weird to say? Like, people are always ready for a 25-point game when his real ceiling in this spot, I don't know. It's how often is he if you played this game over and over again, how often is he really getting 25 fantasy points with Keenan Allen on the field?
Not often, but there's also the chance that he scores 35 points, right? Like, to me, he's one of the few game-breaking receivers. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just super high on him. I just think he's very talented. But who knows? Do you think Keenan Allen's going to play?
I do think Keenan Allen is going to play. I think that's part of it. Obviously, this Houston, the matchup is great. You're not getting any qualms from me there. One thing I am looking at, I'm going over to the Stokastic DFS tools, and I'm looking at our boom bust tool. And Mike Williams has a 4% boom rate, meaning that when we simulate out these games, which we literally do that for our DFS package, we're not really seeing him go off in ways that I would hope.
Gotcha.
And so that's swaying my opinion a little bit. It definitely is. And guys, we have a 3-day free trial for new users over there. If you want to check things out for an entire weekend, a Thursday is a great time to do it. Also, if you want to just try out, say you don't really do this on the main slate, you're focused on your fantasy team, but you do want to try out things for like Sunday Night Football, the London game on Sunday morning, or Monday night, Thursday night games, we've got promo code PRIMETIME right now, which gives you access to all of our single game and showdown tools for $1 for a week. That's good through the end of the month. Really, really, really cool stuff we've got going on. Lineup generator for hand builders. So you don't have to just be a pro to get into the Stokastic DFS ecosystem. A really cool time. Check it out. And there's a link in the video description below as well. Amari Cooper, I also want to highlight as well, having a solid matchup against Atlanta after going off against, oh man, who did he go off? Pittsburgh. Great game against Pittsburgh last Thursday.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Amari Cooper seems like he's less of a fluke than David Njoku. Just real quick, I know we're not talking about tight ends, but did you think that was a fluke?
It was in the sense that no one else was relevant. Yeah, that part was fluky. That's something about the defense that they saw. But I think it is signal in the sense that Njoku performed excellently on that added volume, which means that they're more likely to game plan that in again.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the defense flowed in a certain way that made the offense go to Njoku a ton. But now that he performed well, the offense will now flow more often through Njoku.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. I'm just saying I don't really think that it's like a lock this week that he sees like 6 targets, right?
No.
Okay. All right. Then we're on the same page here. And thank all of you guys. We hit 18,000 subscribers. I don't know if you talked about this. Did we do it yesterday? I don't know. We hit 18,000 subscribers.
We need to have like an event. We should give something away. We should do things. We should say thank you for 20K. We should get
thank you guys.
The push for 20K. Thank you so much, guys. I feel like I need like a noise maker, like something like that.
Air horn. One of those things.
Okay, yeah, I'll get that going. Russell Gage playing Kansas City also, great game last week. I think he could have another great game, even with Godwin practicing, Evans, of course, playing, and even Julio Jones making limited appearances at practices all of a sudden. I still think Russell Gage gained a lot of trust with Tom Brady and has solid ceiling potential just outside the top 24 wide receivers.
Yeah, this wide receiver core in Tampa Bay seems like it's going to be quite fruitful 4 weeks from now, right? When Tom Brady figures it out, right? Once everything starts clicking on all cylinders, maybe once he gets a divorce from his wife or something, I have no idea. But at the end of the day, I think that this offense is not playing at their max. This offense is not dead. Godwin's going to come back. Right now, I trust Russell Gage a decent amount, but I definitely trust Mike Evans the most, and it's not even close. And then speaking about the offense that played against them, I'm also pretty high on Romeo Dobbs this week. I was high on him on the offseason. We finally start to see it maybe come to fruition. Again, I'm not saying to bet your house that Romeo Dobbs is going to score 15 plus fantasy points, but I do think if you picked him up off the waiver wire and you're having some tough decisions at wide receiver, Romeo Dobbs is definitely worthy of a start. And again, we haven't ranked inside the top 24, which makes sense.
Pass the ball, Aaron Rodgers. Look what I found. Look.
That's exactly what I was looking for.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, cool. We got this. All right. We did it. We did it, fam. Thank you. Stu Money. Thank you for the super chat, my friend. 2 flexes. We got Higgins. You're probably starting him, honestly. Hollywood, London, and Olave. Pick them.
All right. I'm going Higgins. I don't think you can sit Higgins. And then it's tough because, again, Olave, London, Hollywood, all looking good. The one thing that concerns me about Olave, Michael Thomas might not play, but it's the fact that the game's in London, and this might just be the most boring game ever. I don't know why that always, every time they go to London, everything goes wrong. Have you ever noticed that? Like, the game never goes how you think it's going to go. Like, the Dolphins lost to the Jaguars in London last year. I remember that.
The Ravens lost to the Jaguars. I remember a couple years ago. Leonard Fournette, a young Leonard Fournette, went completely bonkers.
Doesn't surprise me. So I'm going to go Higgins, and I'm going to go Hollywood Brown. Again, I feel pretty comfortable with Hollywood. I kind of, look, I was banging the drum for him the first 2 weeks. I started to get a little nervous last week, and then he goes crazy. So let's ride the train. I like Hollywood Brown a lot.
So I will give credit to the Carolina defense, which looks better than I expected them to look.
Agreed.
But they're still up to league average in schedule-adjusted fantasy points allowed to opposing offenses, meaning that they're no longer a defense that we can exploit. But I don't think Arizona's offense, which is missing a ton of talent, and now A.J. Green's looking doubtful for this week as well. Greg Dortch can have a 9-target game, but they would much rather that 9-target volume go to Hollywood Brown. I feel scared to not start London and Olave, but I think you go Higgins and Hollywood.
Yeah, I agree. Olave is starting to look incredibly good. Excellent.
Is leading the NFL in air yards good?
Yeah, well, when Jameis is throwing you the ball, it doesn't necessarily correlate too much.
Olave's up there somewhere. All right, let's move on to tier 4, the wide receiver 3 tier, which especially this season where wide receivers have been outscoring running back counterparts like the wide receiver 15 has been scoring 2 fantasy points per game more than the running back 15. This tier really, really matters. I think we start right off the bat and say Richie James is there because everyone is hurt in New York. I'm not sure we can be as sure that that ranking will hold until Sunday. We're definitely going to be tweaking the projected target shares as we get closer and closer to Sunday kickoff. But with Sterling Shepard going down, I mean, the Chicago defense is absolutely nothing to be scared of, but we can't be super certain that Richie James is the one that emerges within this offense. We have some other hot takes in Joshua Palmer being there, but then a lot of players who we just kind of hope do a lot better than their rankings imply. Like Mike Evans at 36. I don't know what he's doing there with the Stokastic projections. Even Gabe Davis at 31 in the highest total game of the slate. I think that is way too conservative. Even Adam Thielen, tough matchup, I understand, but they're going to be focused on Jefferson. I think he's got some upside here. And then Claypool down at 38, playing the Jets. Who sticks out to you positively or negatively in this year? There's just a lot of damn good wide receivers this year.
Yeah, Jerry Judy, does he maybe just not have it? Like, could that be true? Like, Cortland Sutton's clearly the guy there. Jerry Judy doesn't look bad, but it's like, is he going to be this reliable receiver week in, week out with how the Broncos are playing? I just don't know yet. I do think that I wouldn't cut Jerry Judy. I wouldn't trade him for someone useless because I think he's a great player. I just don't know if the situation is ever going to play out where he really hits his upside this season. Nathaniel Hackett might be to blame. Russell Wilson could be to blame. But what I do know is that Cortland Sutton is clearly the guy, which is why we have him ranked significantly higher.
That hurts, man. I was talking about this with a friend of mine saying, how in the world do you accurately analyze these Alabama wide receivers when they're sharing the field with 3 other first-round wide receivers and getting the ball from a first-round quarterback. Like, yeah, of course you're open when the defenses have no idea what to do with the level of talent on the field. You have literal Heisman winners on the other side of the field. I just don't know what to say. Like, how could you really evaluate Jerry Judy? I don't think he's a bad player,
Of
but
course not.
maybe he's just league average is maybe what we're kind of saying. I did like, it seemed like he had a level of explosiveness that he maybe lost when he hurt his ribs in week 2. Because week 1, he had a couple of dynamic plays. Obviously goes for 4 receptions, 102 yards, 20 fantasy points. So season goes fast, man, because after 2 games under 4 fantasy points, you're kind of sitting there going, what the hell do I do with Jerry Judy? Hunter Renfro, this is fine ranking him. He's still no lock to play. And man, I put Devonte Smith in the start category this week against the Jaguars. I realize A.J. Brown will have his weeks, and so will Dallas Goedert, but he's had 2 boom weeks and absolutely exploded against Washington. I'm all systems go with him this week.
Yeah, I agree. There's no way that you can be sitting him right at this point based upon what we saw last week, especially. I mean, what a game out of him. This Eagles team doesn't look unstoppable, right? They are in the NFC after all. The NFC is not the best, but not like the Dolphins, who are unstoppable. But yeah, the Philadelphia Eagles look great. Shout out to Devonte Smith, the Slim Reaper. Dude's built like Kevin Durant, just a little shorter. I love him, though.
All he does is get open. Top 15 in the NFL in average yards of separation. Over 2 yards of average separation right now. So get him the damn ball, and that's exactly what Jalen Hurts did. Chase Claypool also in that plus matchup against the Jets. Mentioned him earlier. Treylon Burks, we were talking about him a bit earlier on the show. Would really like to see even more out of him. We've seen some spike moments, but we've only seen 8 fantasy points or so in PPR leagues. We have not seen that true spike week yet. Only a 16.5% target share outside the top 50 wideouts. At least he's still fast. We got to get him more. We got to get him more looks. Bottom line. You ready to move on from this tier? Also, Thielen. Actually, I want to get your take. Sorry, on Josh Palmer. And I realize we have a couple more. Juju and Thomas are pretty low as well.
Yeah, so you want my take on Josh Palmer?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Guyton got hurt last week, correct?
Mm-hmm. He's
so
out.
Now it's really just Joshua Palmer, Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams. So if Keenan Allen doesn't play, my assumption is that he does, then I'm fine playing Joshua Palmer. But do I really want to play the number 3 receiver on a team where the quarterback is hurt? Probably not, right? So what do you think? Do you agree?
I probably feel about Palmer the way I feel about Gerald Everett. They're exciting plays in good situations that I would hope I'm really rooting for in DFS rather than in my fantasy lineups, because they have a chance to go off. But wide receiver 30 feels bold. Just looking at the list below, and then if you want to go to the next slide, we got Juju Smith-Schuster and Michael Thomas in this tier as well. I'd rather start them pretty clearly.
Yeah, but Michael Thomas might not play. I assume that's why he's lower down. There's some worries about him not playing.
Where do you rank Olave if Michael Thomas doesn't play? Because Landry's not 100% either.
He would be a top 18-ish receiver.
Okay.
But then the problem is now the defense just focuses on him, right? So like you win some, you lose some from that kind of a scenario, right? Michael Thomas toe not practicing Thursday. So
I think I agree with that assessment. The air yards, it appears, will be there. We move on to tier 5, the what the heck flexes, the bottom of the barrel for a lot of us. But there are some really interesting names here. Like, I'm starting Robert Woods with relative confidence in a deeper league of mine. But I'm also sad to see players like Terry McLaurin here. Yeah. I don't know about this Rashad Bateman ranking. I think, that's what the projections say. It's probably because we have Lamar projected for a huge amount of rushing. Yeah. But I wonder if our history-based projections aren't quite turning the levers enough to realize that Lamar is passing much more this year.
Yeah, Bateman has been pretty reliable. 5 targets week 1, 7 week 2. Last week was his worst week by far in half PPR. He finished definitely outside the top 50. He was wide receiver 68, one off of being very nice with 69. But he's been pretty reliable first 2 weeks, 1 touchdown in each game. I'm firing him up with confidence. I'd be shocked if he finished outside of the top 32. And his upside is like wide receiver 7, 8 on a big game, especially against Buffalo. The only worries is there are some worries about rain at home in Baltimore in that game, but I don't think that would really affect anything. But that hurricane seems to be affecting the wind everywhere. Like I know at MetLife, I think the Giants are playing at home, I think, and there's supposed to be 10 to 25-mile-an-hour winds.
Oh, and I've heard the turf is just fantastic as well.
Looks great.
Yeah. We're going to be breaking every single game down for the Sunday main slate, by the way, in actually just a few minutes, as we do every single Thursday. Dave Loughran, and myself over on the channel that started it all, the Stokastic DFS channel, formerly Awesemo, the name of our co-founder, Alex Awesemo Baker, now Stokastic DFS, bringing you a breakdown of every single fantasy relevant player in every single game on the main slate, talking about them in relative terms to their expectations in salary. And if you're just getting started in the DFS world, maybe you get that primetime code that you can see in the video description, or you take advantage of the free trial and you want some context to all of our tools. If you just want one show, I can't recommend this show enough. I'm going to throw it into the chat here. The bottom of the chat, that's where things go. And you can join me and Laffy in approximately 22 minutes. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Put a whole lot of effort into it. And we do have a lot of fun in the chat as well. It's going to be a good time, especially this week. This is a good question here. Christian Kirk or Chris Olave?
I'm going Kirk. Pretty clearly. I think Kirk is safer, and I think they both have similar upside. Christian Kirk has looked incredible. Trevor Lawrence wants to throw him the ball. This offense looks great. This is a revenge game for Doug Peterson. Revenge games haven't gone the best, but I think Christian Kirk gets it done.
Christian Kirk, man. The Jaguars saw something before we all did, right? Because he was kind of hidden in this Arizona horizontal raid offense. And you know what? He's been fed the ball extremely well, but he hasn't been completely force-fed, and he's still getting it done. He's 22nd in share of team targets. He's 34th in share of team air yards, but he's still getting over a quarter of the overall wide receiver opportunity, and that's been enough to produce 12 targets, 6 targets, 9 targets, 6 receptions per game right now, and he's never been under 70 yards receiving. I mean, I'm thoroughly impressed.
Yeah, 14.8 yards per reception, too. Incredible. He's looking really good.
10th in yards per route run. Let's go, man.
Yeah, the Eagles defense is pretty decent though, so I'm not going to say that this is definitely a smash spot, but he is pretty reliable.
This is an interesting one. It's down at the bottom here. They would be in the probably like tier 5B. But Greg Dortch or Zay Jones. Dortch, man, just past that Dortch. He's been in a lot of situations where all he does is catch passes. Full PPR, this might matter to me. Because if you're going full PPR, I think it's Dortch by quite a bit. In half, it's a little bit closer. I still might go Dortch in this game against Carolina.
Yeah, our rankings have Jones at 47, Dortch 51. I'm going Dortch as well. The Dortch one, I really trust him every week. Zay Jones is decent. But to me, Zay Jones doesn't have much upside, right? He's going to keep getting target, or Zay Jones. I don't know if I said Dortch, but Zay Jones doesn't have much upside. He's going to catch a few balls, score you like 8 points, whereas I think Dortch could score you 15 plus points. So I'm just hunting for that. So I'd go Dortch.
I think I agree. Yeah, I won't add anything more. I think I agree. Start one in the flex, half PPR. Dotson, Garrett Wilson with Zach Wilson back in the fold. Michael Carter with Zach Wilson back in the fold. Tyler Boyd or Ramondre Stevenson. I'm not starting Ramondre. No way.
I am going with Wilson, and I feel dirty about it. I'm incredibly worried about what's going to happen with Wilson because we know the MILF hunter Zach Wilson loves to throw the ball to Elijah Moore. So I am a little bit worried. Like, I also think we have Elijah Moore ranked way too low. I don't even think I've seen him yet. He might have a huge game. I'm really worried, but I don't really trust Dotson that much. I mean, I guess the safe answer would be Boyd, but again, with all these guys healthy, do you really want to start Boyd? So I'm gonna go Garrett Wilson, but my confidence level is at an all-time low with Garrett Wilson, and I could be wrong. Same thing goes with Michael Carter and Breece Hall. Like, I just don't think that Zach Wilson's a dump-off machine like the great Joe Flacco is.
I'm going with Garrett as well. That's my pick in this as well. We've just got 3 minutes left. I'm trying to rapid fire through all of these standard PPR. Okay, start 2, wide receiver, 1 flex. Jefferson, Pittman, Garrett Wilson, Juju Samuel. And would you start Pierce over the flex choice? You're starting Jefferson. You're starting Pittman. And in your flex, you're starting,
Dameon Pierce.
Dameon Pierce to me as well. Easy.
Yeah. That was easy.
Olave or Scary Terry against Scary Terry's had an easier matchup against Dallas than he did against Philly, but Dallas looked pretty good.
Olave.
There you go. 2 between Mixon, Higgins, Jamal Williams. Ooh. Mixon, Jamal Williams. You just go with the starting running backs. I don't feel great about that at all.
I'd go Higgins or Williams, but it's close. Jamal Williams is gonna go fucking crazy.
You're benching the first round running back. That's how it goes. Season goes fast, man. Terry McLaurin or Curtis Samuel in the flex.
I'm going. You got to go Terry McLaurin. Come on.
Trade one of these players. You don't want to decide between these two every week in the same offense. You don't want to have that much Washington volume, and you don't want to have to make this decision every week.
Agreed.
All right, just a few more minutes here. Curtis Samuel or Mike Williams for the flex.
Mike Williams for sure.
I think so as well. I think that one's pretty easy. Starting Mark Andrews, Waddle, need 2 more. Gabe Davis, Brandon Cooks, Chris Olave. I'm going Gabe Davis and Chris Olave.
As am I. Brandon Cooks is very safe every week. He hasn't really been playing as good as I thought he would. So Gabe Davis, pretty easy with Olave.
Assuming you meet standard, like no PPR, Brandon Cooks has like no touchdown equity. So yeah. I'm really low on Cooks in standard leagues. Gabe Davis, Mark Andrews, Waddle, you're doing just fine. But Cooks is a player I do not like in standard leagues. He plays on the Texans. Can I trust Judy this week? We kind of went into it. No. If you want to play back this stream, we went into a Jerry Judy diatribe. The answer is right now no. Despite having a 20-point game already on his resume this year, we're really nervous about him. Plus matchup, good situation here. And that's really all I can say. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Someone asked if they could see the other rankings, so you can just pause. I'll click through them. But yeah, I don't trust Judy really at all this week. I think he's a good player. I'm just worried about Mr. Unlimited and the Denver Broncos.
Did you see the clip?
Subway ad?
The Subway ad, but with the Dark Knight Rises music behind it?
Yes. Very funny.
Which is like, yeah, it was actually terrifying.
But I might go get a Danger Witch after this. I'm feeling danger.
That's too dangerous. That's too dangerous.
It's a little spicy. Right. Watch out.
Just ridiculous stuff. Hey, guys, we got so much going on. Over at this channel, Stokastic Fantasy Football, we've got these live shows every single morning. Nick, you're going to be back, the Stokastic Fantasy Hour, leading up to kickoff for Thursday Night Football with your Dolphins and the Cincinnati Bengals. We do the same thing tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., talk about flex rankings, your toughest start-sit decisions, and then Sunday morning, you're back, 11:30 a.m. Eastern. I already talked about the DFS matchups show. I'm going to shamelessly plug it one more time here in the chat. We've also got the Odd Shopper channel. Guys, how about sports betting? It's freaking awesome, and it's coming online in so many more states by the day, it seems like. We got the Odd Shopper channel and the Odd Shopper website that helps you make the very best bets for you. And there is the chat for that as well. It's just a lot. It's overwhelming. So let the people know where they can find you and what you're working on. Nick.
Yes, sir. Find me on Twitter at NotoriousFNTSY, the biggest Dolphins fan page on Twitter. I always tweet very happily about the Dolphins. Follow me on YouTube or subscribe, I guess. Notorious Fantasy by Stokastic. There's videos every single day. I was out on Tuesday, so we're a little bit behind on the videos, but they're still coming out. Make sure you guys watch the stream tonight. Should be a great time. Watch the stream on Sunday as well. We'll be back tomorrow with our final stream together, me and Savoca on the week. So make sure you guys check that out. Check out the matchup show as well with Savoca.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. But I just realized we have to make one more announcement. I'm sorry. Maybe you tuned us out. For those of you that didn't, you are in for a treat, because I just realized that our start sit tool for fantasy football, not just for DFS, is now live on the fantasy football page, and it is completely free. This is really cool. I put a link in there right now. You check out the start sit tool today over at the Stokastic Fantasy Football channel. It's in beta right now, so if you see anything, let us know in the comments. But our developers are working actively on it. Your 1 versus 1 or 2 versus 2 decisions, you can now make them. You can even put half PPR or full PPR in there. Ooh. It is really cool, and we are expanding features rapidly by the day. I'm so happy it's live. Get into the action at the Stokastic Fantasy Football tools. My name is Matt Savoca. We got a lot of announcements there at the end. You make sure to follow that man over there, Nick Lepri, at Notorious Fantasy. You can follow me at Draftaholic if you so choose. Thank you all so much, so much for hanging out today. We really appreciate it. And head on over to the matchup show at 11 a.m. as well. For Nick, my name's Matt. We'll see you guys later.